Diego Pavia has shown that he can steer this team towards its goal of reaching a bowl game.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off of your order. After two impressive wins, we've learned a lot about Vandy football. We hope to find out more as they embark on the rest of the season, and it really starts with this road game or with this road trip to Atlanta to take on Georgia State. Well, also, most importantly, though, Diego Pavia, this is one of the main things that we've learned is Diego Pavia has shown that he can steer this team towards its goal of reaching a bowl game. I mean, when you kind of look at how this thing is shaking out, like when he came in January, that was the move that everyone looked at with anticipation. That was the thing that said, okay, you know what? We got Jerry Kill. We got Tim Beck. Okay, now we got that third piece. Now this offense is going to have some identity. We bring in a guy that's going to compete for the starting job, which we all knew it wasn't much of a competition, but Pavia is proving exactly what he proved at New Mexico State, exactly why he proved that he can go into a hostile environment, lead his team to victory. He went into Auburn. He proved his mettle there. He's backing it up. He's reinforcing it now here at Vandy so far. So, I mean, I think that one of the main thing that we have learned is that we were all 100% right on what our preconceived notions were of Diego Pavia. We knew he was a great leader. We knew that he did a lot of things well. He's not a superstar at any of them, but he does it all well enough, and he has all the intangibles that you need to make this group believe. So he's legit. He's a great leader, tough kid, tough guy, tough quarterback, understands the nuances of everything, accurate, just playing within himself and within the system, and that's what's made him successful thus far. So I'm stoked that we have a great leader like Diego Pavia. I'm stoked that we have somebody that can command this offense, that can command this team the way that Diego Pavia has. Now, for Diego Pavia to be that kind of leader, though, everything around him has to kind of work, okay? Everything around, like the offensive line. What we knew about the offensive line, well, there was a lot of question marks there, okay? And we knew that if Diego Pavia was going to be successful, it meant that the offensive line had to be successful. And so you're witnessing this group kind of grow together and kind of get all of that. They get all of that positive momentum. They get all of that chemistry. They go through all the bumps and bruises together. So this offensive line, man, has been really, really remarkable thus far. I've been vastly impressed with what they've been able to do. So I'm excited for this group as well. I think they have a lot. They have a lot to be. They have a lot to be thankful for. They have a lot to be excited about. So that's one of the things that we've learned. We've learned that centerpiecing around Diego Pavia, that this offense is starting to kind of form its identity. That's the most important. That's probably the most, just as an overall offense, that's probably the most important thing that we've learned thus far. And so when you look at how those things shake out, when you look at the way that we had, coming in versus now, you had a lot of question marks coming into fall camp. A lot of those questions have been answered. We've learned that this receiving core is still getting its footing, but they're developing slowly. This run game is incredible. Cedric Alexander has been the lead back, but we know that A.J. Newberry can add a dimension to it. We know that Monty Jones can add a dimension to it if given the opportunity. But right now, they've just been kind of leaning on Alexander Newberry a little bit, and obviously Pavia in the mix too. I think he had 14 carries or something like that, so in just one half a play. So this is going to be an interesting offense to kind of see it moving forward. But I think we've learned that this thing is also far from perfect. This thing is still developing. We've learned that the triumvirate of Tim Beck, Jerry Kill, and Diego Pavia are absolutely slaying it right now. But I'm excited moving forward. I think some of the pivotal plays that you look at that really, if you slow this thing down, okay, if you look at some of the pivotal plays that identify this offense as they're moving towards that, okay, and it starts with Diego Pavia, as I said. You look at some of the pivotal plays, okay, the drive, and really, if you break it down, the game tying touchdown against Virginia Tech. Okay, the poise it took for him to carry out his run. It wasn't really a run fake, but like to carry out his part of the option, to get the defenders, to have the poise enough, the patience enough to get those defenders to come crash down on him so that he could flip the ball out to Alexander, was nothing short of incredible. I mean, that's a veteran move. And that's a move that you look at and say, okay, this team is different. The way the offensive line blocked, I mean, they created running lanes all day long against Virginia Tech, who had a very formidable defensive front. They were a little weaker against the run than they were as a pass rush unit. But overall, that group was just an incredibly talented across that front seven. And Vanderbilt at times, especially on the offensive line, had their way. Like Cedric Alexander's touchdown, his first touchdown, was the offensive line just road graded him in there. They literally pushed and caved Virginia Tech's defensive line off the ball and just drove him into the back of the end zone. So, and allowed Alexander to kind of waltz in. And I think that whole series was very run heavy, and their defensive line didn't stand much of a chance. So that tells you, like, okay, this is what we want to establish as our identity. And that was something that you said, okay, this is where Vanderbilt's planting their flag. They're going to be a physical, in-your-face, ball control, run-heavy team. And Pavia is going to make it happen with his legs. You bring in Nate Johnson. He's explosive. He had 2 explosive runs against Alcorn State, one of them being a 56-yard touchdown on his second carry. Maybe, no, it was his first carry, his first touch in the second half when he entered in for Pavia. He took that thing and just bam, like he was shot out of a cannon. There's got to be a way to figure out. And that's one of the things I'm wondering. I'll dive all more into that a little bit later, but there's something there. And it's exciting. Like, I think anybody in that stadium on Saturday night looked and said, okay, I think we got something with him. I think we've got something here with Nate Johnson. So I think that's going to be exciting. I think, there's promise with the receivers, right? Quincy Skinner has been having a pretty nice run. I mean, he caught a jump ball in the end zone against Virginia Tech. He had a couple. The passing game really wasn't much against Alcorn State. Didn't have to be. So he had a really nice game against Virginia Tech, but he's starting to become that number one target where he's going to get open. He's going to make contested catches. He's going to do his thing. And so I'm really excited to see kind of how I think we've learned that these guys are starting to develop. And I think we're starting to learn that, all right, well, we can lean on Quincy Skinner in the pass game if all else fails. We learned that Quincy Skinner is the number one. And I think it's important to have a pass game coming off of that. And so I think it's important for them to understand kind of, okay, well, we have to have a starting point. If we're going to throw the ball, we need a starting point. We need a target. We need a guy that can be our starting point, our starting focal point in the pass game. And that's Quincy Skinner. He catches slants, hitches. He can catch, I won't say deep shots because Pavia is not really good at that, but he can catch the ball and get vertical a little bit there. And then lastly, man, we learned that, Eli Stowers, dude, he's an X factor. He's multi-talented. He threw a touchdown pass. Again, he was a quarterback coming out of high school, and a quarterback early on at New Mexico State realized that probably quarterback wasn't in the cards for him in the future, decided to change positions, play tight end. So he's one of those athletic mismatch guys that, hey, if you need a trick play, a gadget play, where you have like an end-around throw, it's Eli Stowers. And that's kind of how that went. So I'm very, we learned a lot about this offense. We learned a lot about all of that. The defense is disruptive. The coaching changes were good as well. I didn't even get to that stuff. I just got so enamored with this offense and the things that they bring to the table. But we'll continue that a little bit here next. We'll talk about kind of what we hope to learn. I'll kind of incorporate that in a little bit as we get caught up. There's some recruiting impact as well. And then before we get out of here, we'll take a sneak peek at Georgia State. So we'll come back at you here in a few. All right, this episode is brought to you by Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Hey, Locked On Vandy fans, I want to take a moment to give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love as much as I do. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of Vanderbilt? Well, from recruiting players to hiring coaching staff to overseeing training camps and handling school scholarships, you control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure? And here's what I really love about the game. You're responsible for calling offensive plays during the game. Your strategy will not only determine the success of your football season, but will shape the future and legacy of your program. So Ultimate College Football Head Coach is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want and when you want to. And of course, we have a special offer for Locked On Vandy fans. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. So make sure to take advantage of this perk as it will get your team off to a strong start. So to download the game, just visit ultimate-cfb.com. That's ultimate-cfb.com or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Begin your coaching legacy today. All right. Welcome back. College football. Man, is it back? It is ever so back. We are 2 weeks in now, and the excitement has not waned, not one bit. But you know what? It's still not too late to catch up on SEC, ACC, Big 10, and Big 12. You can get it all from Locked On Stable of College Experts by subscribing to the Locked On College Football podcast. Who has a chance to make the playoff? What teams will cause chaos? What teams are contenders? What teams are pretenders? Everything you need to know all in one place. So be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On College Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And shout out to the everydayers. Without you guys, none of this would be possible. So I appreciate you guys. All right. So what have we learned? Okay. We got to pick this up, man. I got enamored with the offense. So we've learned that Diego Pavia is legit and the offense is finding its identity. And they're finding it all right. They're starting to kind of heat up in the run game. They've got to continue to kind of tweak things a little bit. One of the other things we learned, I haven't mentioned it much. I have, but this is a revelation that you never know how it's going to go game to game. But the defensive identity is disruptive and aggressive, and I'm here for it. Okay, and that's kind of what this team identity is, really. They're disrupting every preconceived notion that anyone has of Vanderbilt football, which is supposed to roll over and let Alcorn State push them around, and they were supposed to get blown out by Virginia Tech. None of that happened, so they disrupted everything about that. But the defensive identity is disruptive and aggressive. That's the identity of the team. You want that physicality from the defense to leak and seep into the other parts of the program, because that's who you want to be. That's who you want this program to be. So this is good, man. The defense is disruptive. They're getting after it, man. Just watching them play, like even if they're not making big plays, which they made plenty of them over the last couple of weeks. You had the tipped interception. Longwell tips it to the big freshman Glenn Seabrooks for an interception. You had CJ Taylor pick one off against Alcorn and almost house it. You had Taco Wright actually pick one off and house it. So you've had 3 turnovers so far this year, less than 100 yards of total offense for Alcorn State last week. Virginia Tech, you hold them to a field goal in the first half. They light it up, but you make plays when it matters. Obviously first game stuff, like you're going to make some of those mistakes and that's going to happen. But the fact of the matter is this: you're aggressive, you're relentless, you don't stop, and you just come flat out get after it all 60 minutes, which is something I haven't seen a Vanderbilt team do in a while. Like that, usually it's, hey, something bad happens, we fold. It's like here we go again. It's not like it's like they want to quit. It's not like they're, I'm not saying like they're godless or anything, but it's just one of those things where you can see the weight of all of the past letdowns just overwhelm them, right? Especially last year's team. You saw it, like something bad would happen. They would get some adversity defensively and they would just deflate. And you could see it. I mean, you could see it. The body language was there. They weren't making as many plays. Teams were starting to gash them a little bit. They were sitting back and kind of letting it happen. This year, man, it's a totally different philosophy, totally different mindset. So I've learned that having an identity makes a difference. And what do I hope? What do I hope they learn? I hope they learn. I hope we learn that this defense is legit and can maintain. I'm hoping that once we get into SEC season, this defense can really kind of sustain that level of aggressiveness and that level of success against these SEC teams, starting off with Missouri and Alabama. And you hope that they can be competitive. But again, it's a grueling schedule. There's a lot better coaching in the SEC. So, you've got that part of the chess match that you can't control. Like you can't control how well coached the other team is. You can only control your tendencies and what you do and what you present and how you present it. And the only way that they're going to have success is the same way they had success against Virginia Tech. Boom, get after you, right? So you hope that they can maintain that. Just like the offense, you hope that they can develop the passing game and be able to take some shots downfield and be able to involve more receivers. You hope that they can maintain their run game. As they do that, you hope that they can maintain their physicality over the course of a season. We'll see how strength and conditioning really is as we go. So this team so far out of the gates has looked strong, look stronger than they've ever have been. So I'm excited about that, man. And this is going to be fun. So this defense, they've got to keep it. They've got to keep the pedal to the floor. And I think Clark Lee has found some success in that. And I think, I personally, I think he subscribes to the if it's not broke, why fix it crowd. I think he's kind of in with that philosophy of, hey, we're aggressive, we're disrupting, we're shooting gaps. We got to improve a little bit on our coverage and matching up and communicating, but we're putting pressure on the quarterback. We're having him make hurried throws. We're getting to him. We're knocking him down. We're sacking him. We're getting our hands up and throwing lanes and batting the ball down. Just everything you need to disrupt the passer and make the passer feel uncomfortable is exactly what's happening with this defense. And that's exactly what you need. You get a guy like Kyron Jones. He was uncomfortable all day with the exception of like 3 drives. He was relatively uncomfortable all day. He was either on the move, throwing off platform, getting hit. I think he went out right at the end of the game there because he was taking such a beating that I think he just kind of gave out, honestly. And so you have to look at it like that. Like if you're going to be disruptive, man, it's great. But lastly, I've learned that there's actually a recruiting. There's some recruiting news that goes with this. There's a recruiting impact. Like there's so many more people scheduling official visits. There's a 4-star Auburn commit, Donovan Starr. He is now setting up a visit to Vanderbilt. He's saying, oh, wait a second. This team looks pretty good. And guess where he's from? Ravenwood. Yeah, that's right. He's from Ravenwood. So that's part of the state of Nashville that Clark Lee needs to That's part of the philosophy that he needs to do. So what do I hope we learn? I hope we learn that Clark Lee is going to set up the state of Nashville as his recruiting state. Lock down Middle Tennessee. If you can lock down Middle Tennessee and work your way out, you're going to be pretty good because Middle Tennessee is getting good at football, right? Like you got Carson Lawrence from McCallie. Like I think the more you win, the more he's going to see that, hey, I do need to stay in the home state, and we can really get this thing going. So I would like to see that happen. I would like to see Clark Lee do that and really kind of lock down the state of Nashville. So I've also learned, and I hope to learn, that there's going to be a bigger recruiting impact as the season goes because this team plays absolutely hard. And I don't know how and I'll leave you with this. I don't know how the wins are going to shake out because this schedule is really difficult. And I don't know how it's all going to shake out with injuries and things like that. But the fact of the matter is this: if they continue to play hard and they make it difficult for the other team, they're going to sneak out a win that they shouldn't in there somewhere. They're going to get the easy ones, which Kentucky, woof, that was bad. Like South Carolina, that was a beatdown. Right. And South Carolina's not even that good. And they beat the hell out of Kentucky. Not a good look there. So those two games just got really interesting. LSU all of a sudden got really interesting because I hate to say it, but they're missing Jaden Daniels, which is no surprise. You have a Heisman Trophy winner leave and your defense is still a little shaky. So some of these games just got a lot easier. The Tennessee game just got a lot harder. They looked really impressive against NC State. So that game got a little bit more difficult. Bama's always going to be difficult. It don't matter. And then Missouri is pretty difficult as well. And then Texas, good Lord, that game's going to be insane. So the schedule does not do Vandy any favors, but all they can do is come out there and play hard, disrupt, and see what happens. Because you know what? Football has a crazy way of doing things. Like Northern Illinois, you think they're going to? Did anyone in their right mind think they had a shot at beating Notre Dame? No, not even the guys on that sideline. Half of those guys probably thought they were just going to go and get a chance to play at Notre Dame, and that be it. But you saw how that one went. So anyway, Georgia State. That's the first one up. It's going to be a road trip. Last time we took a G5 road trip, we lost. So. Vandy opens up his 10-point favorites. We'll take a sneak peek at Del McGee's Panthers next. All right. Are you tired? You're just dragging. I'm dragging, man. I got the case of the Mondays. Well, you know what? 5 Hour Energy fixes tired fast. Whether you have a long list to do for work or a list of DIY projects to tackle at home, take a 5 Hour Energy shot so you can check everything off your list. And if you're like me, you always have a large list of projects for the home. When you get your supplies for the project, don't forget the most essential supply, which is a 5 Hour Energy shot. All right? 5 Hour Energy is the brand of hardworking people like you've trusted for over 20 years to give them alert, energized feeling when they need to get through a busy, hectic day. You always know where to find 5 Hour Energy shots, right at the cash register at nearly every convenience, drugstore, and grocery store nationwide. So stock up on money-saving multi-packs to make sure you never run out of delicious, energizing 5 Hour Energy shots. So if you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy product today. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. This code is also not good with subscription orders. So go to 5hourenergy.com today. That's the number 5hourenergy.com today. All right, we're taking a sneak peek here at Georgia State. We're going to look at kind of what they bring to the table. This is a team that is very intriguing to me. Okay, because they're going to be well coached, right? And they're going to be somebody that is going to come out and play hard. They played hard last year. They made a bowl game and they made a coaching change, and that coaching change is from the Kirby Smart tree. So you know what happens there. All right. So this is going to be interesting. Georgia State is a strong team, and they they play hard, and they lost to Georgia Tech last week, or 2 weeks ago. But Georgia Tech is a team that they're pretty explosive themselves. So I'm very intrigued by this game because there's a lot that Georgia State brings to the table, and they played Chattanooga this past weekend. They squeaked by that win, so they have some things that they have to work on, right? And there's some things that you're scratching your head like, let's see here, what happened here? So that's something that you have to kind of look at there. But Vanderbilt, again, they're coming in. They're coming in off a complete and utter high right now. Probably the best that they've started in a while, not just record wise, but just momentum wise. The Panthers, they're limping in here. Had a rough start to the season, but they've a couple tail of the tape things here. They finished their last contest with a total of 391 yards. They ran 73 plays, which means they're a tempo team. They're really weak against the pass defense. They're kind of stingy against the run rush, allowing 2.7 yards per carry, which Vanderbilt's going to challenge that. But they rank 114th in Division I and holding an average of 18 points per outing. So they don't score a whole lot either. So this is a team that's going to kind of get interesting. So for Vanderbilt, I think what you have to look at is, okay, well, we have, the run game has to get going, obviously. And Georgia State they flow to the ball well, and they're they play the run really, really well, or considering they play the run really, really well. But for Del McGee's squad, I mean, they had to replace the quarterback, so they're breaking that position in. They've had to replace a lot of other good things, a lot of other good positions there through the portal. So they've had some things that they've had to do as they get ready for Vanderbilt. They just honestly, as an operation, they just have to clean a bunch of stuff up, man. Like they went in, you guys remember 2019, they went into Tennessee and won 38-30, right? That's something. That's nothing to scoff at. And I know everyone listening to this program was probably very, very excited on that day. Gavin Pringle, Kevin Swint were named to the 2024 preseason All Sunbelt First Team on defense. So, they're coming back. They have running back Freddie Brock, who he has 152 all-purpose yards so far. He is from Rochester. He's 8th in the Sun Belt in total yards. So Vanderbilt's defense is going to have to kind of key in there and do not let him get going. Justin Abraham on defense, he's leading the team in tackles. So he's going to be somebody that, hey, this offense has to key in on and make sure that they get him blocked up, because if they don't and they let him loose, he's going to wreak havoc, which he already kind of has done. Dorian Fleming, Georgia State is kind of, I guess, built philosophy-wise a lot like Vanderbilt. They want to focus on the run game and the tight end. So Dorian Fleming is going to be he's going to be a target for the quarterbacks, and he's going to be somebody that's going to be an integral part of this offense. They've got a new starting quarterback who it's Christian. I'm going to screw this name up. I apologize, but Christian Velu, I think that's how you say it. He was 12 of 34 last week for 238 yards and 2 touchdowns against Chattanooga. He's had a pretty good start to the season. They just for Georgia State, like, they're right now what they're struggling. Like, they have talent. They have guys across the board that can play. I mean, they're a team that's not short on talent, being in Atlanta. And kind of living in the portal a little bit as well, getting some of these bounce back guys from JUCO, getting some guys that FCS level that want to prove themselves at the FBS level. They get some of those as well. So, I mean, they've got some good players over there. They've got to just find an identity and they just got to kind of find some chemistry as well. And then once they kind of do that, you'll start to kind of see them turn the tide a little bit. I mean, they're talented enough to be a bowl team. They just got to kind of play like it. And so if they want a chance to beat Vanderbilt, and I'll tell you what chances they have later on. I'm going to have Dave Cohen on the show here later this week. He's a play-by-play guy for Georgia State. So we're going to take a look at kind of what they do and kind of how they operate. So this is going to be a fun matchup here, but I'm looking forward to it. Georgia State is a formidable opponent. They're an opponent that is going to be tough enough to get us ready for the onslaught of the SEC schedule coming up, where it's a road trip to Columbia, Missouri the week after. So it's kind of a road trip dress rehearsal. So that'll be fun. But that's all I got for you today. Make sure you guys like and subscribe if you like what you hear, and hopefully you do. And we'll see you back here tomorrow on another edition of the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Behave yourselves. Anchor down.